Srinivas Acharya Das. She got in touch with Krishna consciousness in 2002 at Arizona State University while pursuing her master's degree, which fructified into initiation in 2006. She has served in ISKCON in many different roles from then as a Sankirtan leader, Pujari, Bhakti Vrat leader, and fundraising coordinator. She finished her Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav under the tutelage of His Holiness Hanuman Prakshak Swami Maharaj. She homeschooled her daughter Sugopi Radha Davidasi, who is now pursuing her master's at Yale University in Asian religions. She also runs an online school for Krishna conscious kids now. And Mataji has been very instrumental in spreading Krishna conscious to every nook and corner of the world. We are very, very lucky, humble, and we are very happy that Mataji is today with us to share some of the nuggets from Krishna consciousness. So thank you so much, Mataji, and over to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So we'll start with the Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Gauranitai ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I was asked to keep the class as interactive. So I would like to know who all are actively sitting in front of the computer and be willing to participate.
So Mataji, Radha Govind Mataji.
Mm-hmm.
We will have Arjun Mitra Prabhu.
Mm-hmm.
Hemu Mataji. Please on your camera so Mataji can, and anybody, Neelam Khera Mataji and Ramapati Prabhu. So please switch on your cameras, everyone. So Kamini, Hare Krishna. So please interact because Mataji will have to connect. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. Yeah, that's good. I think turning on the cameras is a good way to know who's, hearing with focus. So today's verses start from 425. So we'll go verse by verse and I will recite the Sanskrit and I'll ask one volunteer to recite the translation. दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञं यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति. Translation, anybody?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna,
Thank
Mataji. Dandavata. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the supreme Brahman. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you. So throughout these verses, Krishna is talking about different kinds of sacrifices. So in this verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that there are two kinds of primary divisions in types of sacrifices. One kind is sacrifice of worldly possessions, like whatever we have in this material world. And the second kind is sacrifice that is performed for transcendental knowledge. Sacrificing worldly possessions means we sacrifice something like wealth or, some physical energy. Some people do this to get some material benefits. Like they satisfy the demigods like Indra and sun god, etc. And they get the material benefits from those sacrifices. So these are one kind of sacrifice. A person who's in Krishna consciousness, they sacrifice material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So what are some of the sacrifices that you can think of for Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness? Hemu Mataji, can you think of something? What do we sacrifice?
Time.
Time, yes. Yeah, that's a very important thing that we sacrifice. Mihika?
Mataji, our like our time management and how like we arrange our time to fit things in.
Yes, yes. And also we may sacrifice some wealth to give some charity, to sponsor some things for Krishna, or to distribute prasadam or books. So we do all these things in Krishna consciousness. And another kind that Prabhupada mentioned here is impersonalists. They also sacrifice their time not to do some service to Krishna, but they sacrifice their time for philosophical speculation. They read and think and contemplate, and they try to understand the nature of the Supreme by themselves. So in all these verses, there is one item mentioned as the fire of altar of sacrifice. So this altar for these people who are sacrificing for knowledge, that is the Supreme Brahman. So they sacrifice themselves, the self, into that fire of Brahman. Because when they merge into the impersonal Brahman, they say that they will lose their individual existence. So they are sacrificing their own individual self-existence into the fire altar of sacrifice of Supreme Brahman. Whereas Krishna conscious person, he sacrifices without losing his individual existence. We sacrifice our own desires for the desires of Krishna. We want to have no other desire other than what are the desires for Krishna. We don't lose our existence like Mayavadis do, but we want to engage our mind completely in Krishna. We want to engage our body completely in Krishna. We want to engage our intelligence completely in Krishna. So this is the way a devotee sacrifices. Not like the impersonalist, not like the people who want material temporary happiness. We sacrifice the possessions for the satisfaction of Krishna. When we give something to Krishna, we are not expecting a temporary material benefit for ourselves, right? We just give it for the pleasure of Krishna. Same thing, when we sacrifice our own self, we are not giving up the individual existence. We are just using everything we have for Krishna. That is called sacrificing the self. For impersonalists, sacrificing the self means they don't have any more identity. They just merge. Okay, let's go to verse 26 now. Second, need to scroll it.
Mataji, Sankirtan Yajna is also a sacrifice, right?
Yes, it is also a sacrifice. We are helping others to learn about Krishna. We are using our body to help others get close to Krishna, which gives Krishna satisfaction. Right? We are doing, whenever we do any sacrifice, the mood of a Krishna conscious devotee is Krishna's pleasure. Whereas other people, like Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, they have different modes. Like a materialist will have a mood of gaining something for himself, and an impersonalist has the mood of becoming one with Krishna. But we don't have all those desires. We only have the desire of Krishna as our desire. At least that is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. We all want to go there. One day we are in making still. We'll go to text. Yeah, thank you. Nice question. Text 26. Ritu, you pulled up your hand. So,
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Translation.
This is translation, okay.
Yeah, I'll read the Sanskrit and then you read the translation. श्रोत्रानीन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्या इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति.
Translation. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the sense in the fire of the senses. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here again, in the previous works, Krishna compared materialists and impersonalists with devotees. In this verse, he is explaining what is the difference between brahmachari's sacrifice and a grihasta's sacrifice. So brahmacharis, their sacrifice is their hearing process and their senses in the fire of mental control. So for everything, Krishna is telling which fire and what are the objects that we put into that fire. So what was the fire for impersonalists? We discussed earlier. What was the fire for impersonalists? The fire for impersonalists is Brahman, the impersonal effulgence. And the object that they put into that Brahman is themselves. Okay. And then fire for brahmacharis is the mental control. So they have to live under extreme control of their mind. They cannot let the mind deviate. And that is the fire. Into that fire, they put hearing process and senses. So putting hearing process in the fire of mental control means they don't hear anything other than Krishna conscious stuff. They don't hear the words, mundane words, news, and all about movie stars. This is what goes on, right? If you open Facebook, there are so many things that you can watch and hear. So brahmacharis, they don't do that. And they live under the care of bona fide spiritual master. They abstain from sense gratification. So they live very simply. They don't endeavor to satisfy their senses. That also they put in the fire of mental control. So their control of mind is the fire, and the objects that they put in is their hearing and the senses. And they restrain from any kind of sense gratification. That is the yajna. That is the sacrifice of brahmacharis. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that this human life is not meant for enjoying sense gratification. We try to think that that is the goal of life, but really we can't even enjoy the senses so much. Suppose if somebody is giving us a feast every day of 15 items, can we eat it? How long can we eat it? Anybody? What will happen if we eat like that every day? Hey, Mangini Mataji is laughing.
After a few days, I think we'll be very, very tired.
Sorry?
After a few days, we'll be so saturated that we will stop eating, basically.
Yeah, so that's what makes us understand. That's the proof that we are not meant for it. We are not meant for sense gratification. We force our body to enjoy the senses, but really we cannot do that. It causes so many disturbances in the body. If the body is really meant for that, then it should become more strong and more happy, right? When we do all those things. But unfortunately, it's not made for that. The body is made to perfect in spiritual life. When you try to perfect your life spiritually, it won't get sick, it will become enlivened. That's what the body is meant for. This kind of argument we generally use for vegetarianism, why we should become a vegetarian and not a carnivorous human, because the body is not made for that. When we look at animals which are meant to eat meat, their digestive system is different from us. Our digestive system is more like the animals which only eat vegetables. So same kind of argument. For any sense gratification, we may think, because the body is not made for it, when we do too much of that, then the body gets sick and diseases and everything. But on the other hand, if we just use the body to become perfect in spiritual life, it will not get sick. It will be happy. This is what Prabhupada is mentioning, and he's comparing the yajna of householders with brahmacharis in this verse. So householders, they have some license for sense gratification, but they have to perform with great restraint. We are not, like householders are not meant for indulging in unrestricted sex life or other sense gratification. We are meant to use the facility that we have for transcendental life. We are not just meant to use the sense objects just, unrestrictedly. Like if you put a lot of fuel into the fire, what happens? Anybody, Mihika, what happens if we put a lot of fuel in the fire?
It burns a lot.
Mm-hmm. It won't be happy, right? It will want more. As it burns more, you will need more fuel to maintain that level of burning. Otherwise, it will die down very soon. So similarly, as you give more and more to the senses, they will demand more and more. They'll never be satisfied. So we need to understand that not giving is the only way the senses will be under control and be satisfied. When that fire burns, you are just completely not happy. So we don't want that. That's why this sacrifice in householder life. We are not meant to just completely be lost in this world. We are meant to perfect our life. We are meant to use this life for transcendental advancement. And then we'll go to verse 27. सर्वानिन्द्रिय कर्माणि प्राणकर्माणि चापरे आत्मसंयम योगाग्नौ जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते. Mika, you want to read the translation?
Yes, Mataji. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind.
Okay, here again, Krishna is giving the same kind of pattern, like he will give what is the altar and what is that we put on this sacrificial altar. So the thing that is the altar here is Again, the control of the mind. That was the altar for brahmacharis also. Into that, one who wants to achieve self-realization, they can offer all the functions of the senses and the life breath into this sacrificial fire of controlled mind. In the purport, Prabhupada explains there are many processes of self-realization. One of them is Patanjali Yoga. Patanjali is the person who, yes, Prabhu, you have a question, Arjun Mitra Prabhu?
No, Mataji.
Okay. So Patanjali Yoga system, it divides all the souls into two categories. One is Pratyag Atma and the other one is Paragatma. As long as the soul is attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Paragatma. When somebody is detached from sense enjoyment, it is called Pratyagatma. He's also dividing. We see so many yoga societies nowadays, yoga schools, but no one talks about being detached from sense gratification. Right? They do yoga and then they go out and eat everything, all kinds of things like meat and drink and everything. Nobody talks about regulating the senses. But here Patanjali right out divided everybody into two kinds, one who's attached, one who's detached. So it is important. The first step of Ashtanga Yoga also is Yama. Yama means regulative principles, the rules that we need to follow. What to do, what not to do, Yama and Niyama. These are the two things that we need to follow. To get the benefits of asana, first we have to follow Yama and Niyama. So this is what Patanjali Yoga system also tells, and how to control the body's air. I've read recently that if somebody can practice, focus on their breath 1 hour a day, there is no problem that cannot be cured, even the mental illnesses. If they can practice breathing exercises every day, everything will be purified, everything will be cleansed. And this system also tells us how to advance spiritually. Using this process, this is also one of the processes which will purify the soul of material attachment. There will be more control over the mind. When the mind is not going here and there, then we don't have to run after things, right? Generally, if the mind is weak, then we have to run after all the different things in the material world. But if the mind is strong enough, then it's easy to control the senses. So this is what this yoga system also tells. By managing all the different airs, we can manage the mind, we can control the mind, we can offer all these airs into the mind control. So the senses, they interact with different sense objects. What are the sense objects for the eyes? Anybody? Some nice things to see, like beautiful pictures or, yes, Mika.
Mataji, I just wanted to say the same thing.
Sorry?
I wanted to say the same thing.
Same thing. Okay. Yeah, some nice things to see we want for eyes. And for ears, what is the sense object?
Something that pleases the senses. We want to hear like a music, or maybe
Yes.
some gossiping or some chit chatting that will like soothe the senses or sense objects.
Yes. We want to hear some nice music or about somebody like
Prajalpa.
Prajalpa, yeah. Or it can be about Krishna. I mean, we can dovetail it. And for the nose, we want to smell nice things. And for the tongue, we want to taste nice things. And for the hand, we want to touch nice things. These are the activities of the senses with the sense objects. But all these activities, they are functions of pranavayu within us. You know, we have 10 kinds of air within our body. Does anyone know what are the different kinds of air within our body?
That is Apanavayu, Pranavayu, Utanvayu. I know this much.
Very
Actually,
good.
there are five Pranavayus are there, but I didn't know the all 5 names.
Thank you. Yeah, you know a lot. Samana Vayu is another thing, and then Udana you already told, right? So Apana Vayu, it goes downwards. Vyana Vayu is another thing. It acts to shrink and expand. We do that all the time in our body, right? We shrink and expand, whether it's lungs or heart, they shrink and expand. So this Vyana Vayu is the one that helps. And Samana Vayu, it adjusts everything. It makes the body stay in equilibrium. And then Udana Vayu, it goes upwards. And when one is enlightened, one can engage all these different airs of the body in searching for self-realization. So this Patanjali yoga system will direct us to different methods, different principles that we follow to engage all these different airs so that we can eventually get purified and become perfect. That is also one way to become perfect. Although it's not very practical for this age to follow so much yoga. There are some people in Himalayas who still try to practice. They control their breath. You know, when we are born, we are given a certain number of breaths. When we exhaust those breaths, then we die. That is the principle. So these yogis who are in Himalayas, they got control over their breathing. They can stay without breathing for a long time. That's how they extend their life. But what do they extend their life for? They extended their life for spiritual advancement. What is the point of just living? But they extend so that they may perfect in this life instead of wasting this time again in taking another birth and continuing. They extended their life and they perfect their life, and eventually they'll leave at a time where it's suitable to go back to Godhead. They can have the control like that. So this is the way yogis endeavor. They sacrifice all these life air and other airs into the sacrificial altar of mind control. And that's how they make advancement. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Verse 28, sorry, we just finished 27. Who wants to read the translation for this?
I can, Himangini Mataji, go ahead and read it.
Yes, okay. Dravya yagnastapo yagna yoga yagnastha pare swadhyaya jnana yagnascha yataya samshita vrataha. Translate.
Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge.
Okay, thank you. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions several other different kinds of yagnas. So the first one he mentions is Dravyamaya Yagna. So this yagna means we give up our wealth for some kind of charity. So many rich mercantile communities or princely orders, they open so many things to help others. like Dharmashala, Annakshetra, Atiti Shala, Anathalaya, and Vidyapita. These are the things Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. So these are for if somebody is visiting a place like a pilgrimage site, if they want to stay somewhere, then there are these Atiti Shalas, and then they have these free food distribution. People fund for that, and then places where some others who may not have homes, they can stay, places where people can study. So all these things are facilitated by these rich people or princely order. In other countries also, not just in India, there are so many hospitals or, senior homes and so many food distribution places and medical treatments for poor. So all these things are Dravyamaya Yajna. So we are sacrificing our money for the benefit of others. This doesn't have the spiritual intent, but it is better than just using everything for ourselves. People have to start somewhere, and this is the beginning point. And as people try to do these things, some realizations will come. Krishna gives some realizations which will take them further in their journey towards spiritual advancement. Usually people who are charitable, they are more receptive for transcendental knowledge also, because they are not just thinking about their own senses, they're thinking about helping others also. Their consciousness is a little bit more evolved than normal people. And another yajna that Prabhupada mentioned is Tapomaya Yajna. A lot of people perform austerities, especially in India. There are different kinds of austerities that people do. Can you mention some of the austerities that people do, like vratas? And please participate. You share what you know.
84 कोष परिक्रमा.
Sorry?
We perform 84 कोष परिक्रमा at Vrindavan.
Oh, in Vrindavan. Yes, it's spiritual. I'm looking for like anything material people do.
We are fasting on Agyaras.
Mm-hmm. What do they do?
That is also considering as a tapa.
Mm-hmm. What do they do in that fasting?
They do more chanting and remain as more chanting they are doing, and
okay, good.
So it is also considering as a tapa, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also some people do this Chandrayana Vrata. You know about that? Chandrayana Vrata. People increase and decrease the amount of food they take based on the moon. If the moon is increasing, then they increase little by little like that, and then again they decrease. That is what is Chandrayana Vrata. And Chaturmasya they do. Many people do. Yeah. The intent is maybe different. Devotees also Chaturmasya.
Mataji, those who are doing Chandrayana Vrata, they are doing fasting on Amavasya?
I think so. Yes, I have to look up for the proper reference. That's what the little one-line sentence that I got is that their intake of food, I think they fast on Amavasya and then slowly increase the intake.
So on the Purnima, they eat full days.
Full meal, probably 1 or 2, whatever they eat, they reduce. Yeah, again. Just 1 day of the month, basically, they eat properly, and then it's all, yes.
So that's why
it's an austerity.
So that's what I heard in the previous days. People are doing this Purnima Vrata, and on the Purnima day, they are the family members, all family members together cook many things in the house, and they eat after darshan, after doing the Chandramas darshan, and they eat full feasting. Yeah, so that's what I'm telling.
Probably, yes, probably that's the vrata then they are doing. There are so many different kinds people do, right? These austerities are very prominent in India. People fast on certain days of the week, or they do Navratri fasting, and so many things they do. This is called Tapomaya Yagna. And Chaturmasya, so many people do with different intents. Devotees do for spiritual advancement, but some other people may do for some other desires. They don't shave for 4 months, July to October, and then they don't eat certain foods. Each month there is a certain set of foods that they avoid, and then they just eat once a day. Some people don't leave the home. So all these austerities are called tapomaya yagna. So these can be done either for material benefit or spiritual benefit. Depends on our intent. It's not really the action that specifies what the result would be, but it is the intent with which we are doing this. That's what gives us the result that we want. If we don't want anything for ourselves, but just wants Krishna to be pleased, and if we want to engage in his service, that's what we get. If we want some results for ourselves, wealth or better job, or kids going to good schools or getting jobs, that's what we get. So the intent is what matters. The vrata itself is not what matters, but the intent with which we are doing is what matters. And then Prabhupada also mentions this yoga yagna. Again, there are different kinds of yoga systems. Hatha yoga, Ashtanga yoga, people can practice. Some people practice it to perfect. Some people practice it to get health benefits. So you can see in yoga also there are different intents, right? Sometimes we do yoga for the body control. Sometimes we do yoga for the mind control. Sometimes devotees probably do yoga to maintain the body so that they can serve Krishna for a longer time, right? The intent can be different. Everybody sees the person is doing yoga. Okay, this materialist is doing yoga and devotee is also doing yoga. What is the difference? The difference is the intent with which we are doing. A Krishna conscious person, he does all these kinds of yajnas. He gives his money for prasadam. He gives his money to build temples. He gives his money to build guest houses. He gives his money for educational endeavors. This is Dravyamaya Yagna in Krishna consciousness. Like I said, the intent is to please Krishna. Even in Krishna consciousness, if we do it with the intent of getting something for ourselves, it doesn't become Krishna conscious completely. Okay, so it's not really the action, but the intent that matters. And we do Tapomaya Yagna, like we discussed. We do Ekadashi and we fast on festival days. Janmashtami, we fast until midnight, and then Gaur Purnima, we fast until moonrise, Narsingha Chaturdashi until dusk. So we do austerity. And we follow 4 regulative principles. We eat only prasadam. We do not eat anything other than prasadam. We don't. Yes, is somebody wanting to talk?
Yes, Mataji. It said that in this verse, last 3 lines, the Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any one of these above mentioned types of sacrifice, but can be attained only by the mercy of Lord and his bona fide devotees. Therefore, yes, Krishna consciousness is a transcendental.
Yes.
So for us, for devotee, this all process over here described, we are not really much interested in this. Just for knowledge, is good to know this thing, That's I feel.
Yes. What you said is right. We are not interested in it just by itself, but we do it to attract Krishna's mercy. Right. And just by doing that, it's not like automatic that we get Krishna consciousness. Krishna is not bound by rules. But for demigods, if you do a certain process, they're bound to give the result. It's just like, You apply to a place and you are completely qualified and they are bound to give you admission, right? Like that, with demigods, if you do any of these vratas, or if you give a certain amount of charity or whatever these procedures, yoga also, if you do a certain amount in a fixed way, you'll get the same result as anyone else would get. So Krishna consciousness is not like that. That's what Prabhupada meant to say. It's not like there is a formula and you apply it and you get the same result. It's also Krishna's mercy. Sometimes you may see that someone may get the mercy of Krishna's bona fide devotees or himself, and they may make tremendous advancement. That's why our process is not just our own effort, but there is also the mercy part of the Lord. It's up to him if he wants himself to be revealed to us. It's up to him, right? See, if someone says, you have a dear friend, you have a best friend. So this is what this person did to become the best friend of Prabhu. So I'll do the same process, then I'll become the best friend of Prabhu also. Does that work like that? No, right? It's up to you. If you want to accept that person as the best friend or not, it's your choice. There is no process for it. So this is what Krishna consciousness is. Krishna consciousness is trying to have a relationship with Krishna. We are trying to become Krishna's friend or Krishna's parents, like that. Eventually, we are trying to establish a relationship with Krishna. And for that, not only the process, but the mercy of Krishna also matters. Krishna's desire also matters. That's why Prabhupada said it cannot be just attained by these sacrifices. You need the mercy of the Lord. Makes sense, Prabhu? Okay. So we have all these things in Krishna consciousness. There is no need to go somewhere else. We don't have to think that Krishna consciousness as a process lacks some of these things. We have austerity, we have charity, and we sacrifice by studying also. This is another kind of yajna, swadhyaya yajna. We study. Like right now we have this association where we are reading Bhagavad Gita. That is also a yajna. And we read Bhagavatam, that is yajna. And we engage in explaining it to others, that is also yajna. Anybody who engages in studying Vedic literature, Upanishads, or Sankhya philosophy, this is all called Swadhyaya Yajna. That is also part of Yoga Yajna. So these are the different kinds of yajnas that Krishna explained in these 4 verses. These are not very big, just some kind of classification and how Krishna consciousness can fit into all of this, how we can use any of the yajna in Krishna consciousness, and by the mercy of Krishna, we may get the result of that yajna as the spiritual advancement. So I will stop here, and please share your comments or questions, if you have.
If you have any questions, please raise your hand and you can unmute yourself. Arjun Mitra Babu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you have explained very nicely everything, and all the 4 verses you have explained very nicely. But my question is, there is the Ashtanga Yoga, that is Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi. So in that, what is the meaning of Yam and what is the meaning of Dharana?
So
what to understand by Dharana?
Yama is like following the do's. Like we have, right? You chant 16 rounds every day, you eat prasadam. Niyama is some things that you don't do. Then pranayama, asana comes later. We do the physical exercises, which will make us prepared to do pranayama. You need certain flow in the body to be able to do pranayama. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. We withdraw the senses from sense objects. This result comes if we practice regulating the airs within the body. The result of pratyahara will come.
Then dharana.
Dharana means being fixed in that situation. We all experienced, right? We all experienced at some points of time, our senses are strong. We can restrain from sense objects. But maybe there are weak moments, right? You experience weak moments.
Yeah.
Dharana is the stage where you can be like that without failing. After that, dhyana comes. If the senses are disturbing at sometimes,
So
this dhyana doesn't come.
We can compare it with sustainability.
Sorry?
Sustain.
Nishtha, you can say something like nishtha, fixed up,
Mm-hmm.
like that. So no distractions, like continuously we can regulate. Yes, thank you. Nice question. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Mataji. Mataji. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Your lecture is beautiful.
Thank you.
Very informative. I have one question. You were saying everything you do for Krishna. So I was thinking, you buy clothes, you buy jewelry, etc., for yourself. But if you try, I forget, but I would like to try to remember when I buy that to offer to Krishna first and then use it. What about that idea? How does that go?
That's the beginning. But why do you want to buy jewelry?
Well, I also heard that you also should look beautiful for Krishna. I've heard that too.
Okay. So if you want to wear it and go to the temple and Krishna looks at you and becomes happy, that's good. If you're doing it for Krishna.
Okay. Right. But it's, I don't remember that all the time, but it would be nice if I would.
Yeah, if you know that that's your goal and you're working towards it, that's fine. You're on the right path.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. I can tell you one story.
Yes.
In our temple in Baltimore, one Mataji and her daughter, both of them come with the lots of makeup and jewelry and everything fully decorated. And we feel, this is look like too much when we see, But they said, we come over here to see the Krishna. And when Krishna sees us, we are like a gopi, So they are gopi bhav, doing all this. And they wear the jewelry and makeup and everything, And they come to the temple. But other devotee look, is look a little unusual.
Yes. Also, there is this story in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right, where Gadadhar Pandit was taken to see Pundarika Vidyanidhi. And when he first sees Pundarika Vidyanidhi wearing all these golden, rings on his fingers and everything, he would think, what kind of a devotee is he? People said he's really advanced devotee, but what kind of a devotee is he? Is just so dressed up and not renounced at all. But then when somebody was reciting Bhagavatam, as soon as he hears the story of Putana and this one particular verse, he faints in ecstasy. So we cannot really judge looking at a person's externals on whether the person is a devotee or not based on how much they dress up or how little they dress up. It depends on what kind of mood they have.
And I personally feel that, when we go to someone's house or to our parents' home, we actually dressed up well. We actually put makeup. We want, what's the intention is when we go there, they should feel happy to see us happy. So the intention to get dressed up properly is the bhav that, my Krishna, my Thakurji, my parents, the real parents will feel happy to see me happy.
Yes.
So I think that should be the intention when we dress up.
All right. Thank you, Mataji. Any other comments or questions?
I think we don't have any other questions, Mataji. It was a wonderful class. Always a pleasure to hear from you. So we will conclude the class now here. If anybody has any more questions, raise your hand, last minute questions. Thank you so much, Sundari Radhika Mataji, for coming tonight and enlightening us more on this topic. It was a pleasure. And I think every single time you come, we are learning something new. So we will end it up with Vaishnav mantra. Vancha kalptarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavnebhyo Vaishnavbhyo namo namah. Har Grace Sundari Radhika Mataji ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Hari Bol, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.